Hello, my peeps. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my studio. Welcome to this little class. Now, today's class is about making these little Huggy earrings. Aren't they cute? I like them a lot. Now, these canes might seem familiar to you. They have appeared before in other classes. And you know what? This is hard for me. I always debate about this. Should I just put a link in? Should I put the whole thing? I decided to try to make classes as complete as possible. So this class also contains the instructions for making these leaves and the flower. So you don't have to go looking for it. Now, if you've seen it before, you don't need to see them again. Then, of course, you're just going to zoom through to the end where we actually make our hoop earrings. So, I think that's it. Having said that, I think we have some earrings to make. I went a little nuts. Yeah, I did. So let's get started. This is what we're going to use. These two shades of green. And this is going to be the stem color. And then I think I'm going to throw this in at one end, so we have a little bit of lightness at the tip of the leaf. And then, you know what? We're going to throw some little tiny, see how tiny that is? I'm not even sure it's going to show up at all, but I'm throwing it in this leaf. All right. And for streaks, we're going to use white. So we're going to start out basically with the 2-part Skinner blend setup, which is taking one corner and sort of pushing it over to the other corner, taking this one, repeating, putting one on top of the other, and cutting a right angle triangle. Here, this will make it easier. It's almost a right angle triangle now, right? So just by making 2 cuts, I create a 90-degree angle here. Just your basic Skinner blend. These are not my favorite greens, but I'm going with it. All right, separate, put them back together. I just roll it so that they don't come apart. And these have been rolled through the thickest setting of my pasta machine. Now I'm going to take this, the lighter color, and I think I am just going to butt it right up against there. Now, I don't even know if this is going to show up very much. I don't think it will because there's not a heck of a lot of contrast between this and this, but it may add a little bit of interest. Sometimes I use red here. That's what this is on the tip, is red, because I like leaves with, you know, that little red tip. But today, we're going to do that. Might not make any difference, but it was also not very difficult to do. All right, so the first time through the pasta machine, of course, thickest setting. Roll it through, placing 2 colors, or 3 colors in this case, on the rollers, like that. Roll it through. Now, at this point, I'm going to start adding my various little bits of white, and I'm going to add the greatly reduced bullseyes. Okay, now I want this really thin. 3, 6. So I've rolled this through setting 6. So let's just start cutting. And placing them sort of randomly on the sheet. Now, there have been instances where I just wanted highlights in a certain area. Well, let's do that. Let's just highlight a certain area and not the whole sheet. I'm just going to add this white into the center area. Just to kind of add a highlight in this area of the leaf. And I'll put some little bits in the lighter area, so you can see that there's more of that white clay just by volume in this area than there is up here. And then there is basically nothing down here. Now, I think in the darker areas, that's where we'll put these. Okay. Like so. Now, in the darker area, I think I'm going to put these. And we'll see. I'm just going to have them angled a bit. They will not be in exactly the same place. And I don't think I'm going to have them crossing each other. Maybe something like this. Okay, there won't be tons of them, but they should show up as dark dots. All right, so let's take this sheet and roll it through the pasta machine again, still on the thickest setting, this edge on the rollers, and let's roll through. Oops. Well, that was bad. I was still set on number 6. Oopsie. So this is very thin. You know what? I'm just going to roll it up. Let's see what happens. Might be a new technique. Roll it thin, then reset the machine. Roll it thick. You never know. Okay, so all that stripy stuff is inside. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn this into a plug. Okay. Let's just plug it. Now, sometimes if the clay's hanging back in the middle, it helps just to twist it and push from the ends and force it to do what you want. Okay. Ta-ta. Now let's flatten this puppy. Now, the reason I turned it into a plug is that ultimately I want a leaf that is short. And it's really easier for me to, at that point, turn it into a plug and push it this way than to continue the process and have a leaf that's this big and then have to reduce it down later, if that makes any sense. I mean, really, that's the only reason why I turned it into a plug, was just to make my life easier later. It has nothing to do with the pattern and everything to do with what happens later, and knowing that a certain process is easier at a certain point, if that makes sense. Okay, so now this is probably 2 times thicker than the thickest setting of the pasta machine. So I'm going to roll it through the machine with this edge on the rollers, still on the thickest setting of the pasta machine. Okay, I'm going to fold it. And let's take a cut on the end and see what we have so far. Okay, now I'm not exactly sure. Maybe these little tiny gray dots, is that what happened to this? It could be because they're so tiny. Well, let's continue the process. I am going to roll it through again. I'm going to roll it through again and fold it back over. But before I do, you know what? It's already so fine. Let's look at this end. This end is more coarse, of course. Of course, but I'm going to roll it through. Then I want to see what's happening here. And on this end, it's fine. This end, it's so fine already. I worry a bit about what it's going to look like. So let's take the middle and look and see what's happening. So I think I'm going to roll this through the machine and make it finer, and then put the 2 halves together. So I'll roll them through separately and then put them together. Okay, so now I've got the 2 pieces. But I think you understand, this cut is at that particular place in the sheet. And it is, you know, since it was kind of dead center in the sheet, this is what's happening there. But on the ends, something very different is happening. So sometimes it's good to cut in the middle just to see what's happening in your sheet. Now, I'm thinking it doesn't make a heck of a lot of difference in this particular pattern. And you know what? I like this, so I'm going to stop. That's one end. Here's another end. Okay. So in this piece, which is closer to the end, the white is more prominent, but that's okay. It's going to be fine. And yes, indeedy, these actually turned into little gray spots, which is fine too. All right, so let's turn this into half a leaf. Now I'm going to take my ruler. We're at 6 inches approximately. I'm going to cut it in half at 3. And rather than mirror imaging, I'm going to slide it over and it isn't, this piece is a little short. It's not a problem. I'm just gonna bring it over and make it long enough. It'll be a little thinner, but this is not a problem. Let us cut it in half again. 1 1/2 inches. Okay, there we are. Now I'm going to reduce this out and then cut it in half. I'm going to insert the stem. All right. Okay, hardly a leaf shape, it's a block. But I'm going to use this one piece for both of our demo leaves. They're not going to be very big, but okay. So now I'm going to place this on my work surface, and I'm just pushing the light side down to my table. And then the dark as well. And it is more leaf-shaped. Okay. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to cut a bit off the end and a bit. I don't have to cut all the way to what you would call a perfect pattern. Okay, 4.5 to and about there. All right. Now I'm going to insert the stem. And this color is gold and brown and a little copper and whatever I had on my table. And I find it easier to cut the point this way than it is for me to like that. Although I certainly have done it that way. No, I'm not going to go all the way to the end. I think I'll just go this far. Cut a bit off. Now let's put them back together. Okay, so at this point I am just going to cut a piece off, not a lot. I'm going to use the bulk of this for this cane. And this small piece will be used to make this cane. Okay, so we're at 21 minutes. I am going to cut here and I will be back. Back again. Now here is our little leaf and I'm going to pack it with this very dark gray black clay. Of course, I made this using my blackout and some of the mountains of scrap clay I have in this house. So first I want to alter. This leaf is just this that I alter the shape of, if that makes any sense. And it's quite easy to do. Let's say I want an opening there, and I want an opening there, and maybe an opening there. Okay, so I'm just going to take my blade and cut. And I kind of walk the blade through like this. You can see just like back and forth, working it to the stem, but not hitting the stem. Now I'm going to open it up. Like so. Now let's fill that space in. Oops. With a piece cut from here. Okay, insert it all the way in, like so. Okay, so I'll get rid of some of the excess, like that. Now, because this is very short too, I can probably just go like this and take and cut straight down, like so. There it is on this side. Here it is on this. Open it up. insert another piece, and if I want the opening to be maybe a little smaller, just take my blade and reduce the size of the wedge. Open it up, insert it all the way in, and there is the second opening in the leaf. Okay, let's do one more toward the top. Take this, insert it, bring the tip back a bit, like so. Now let's cut some of this excess away. And at some point it just gets in the way. Okay. All right, now I will do the same thing on this side. And what I like about working this way is that the leaves, the sides are not symmetrical. They're not the same. Or they don't need to be the same. Here, let me just cut some off. All right, so I'm gonna cut, but you've seen how it's done. I will make a cut maybe closer to the base here, maybe split the difference and have them. So the leaf is clearly not symmetrical on both sides. So that's what I'm gonna do, cut here, cut here, cut here, fill as I did before, and then I'll be back. All right, so I did both sides, and now it's time to pack around the stem. I did one side, now I'll do the other. So I'm going to take a quarter wedge, and whatever this angle is, this outside angle on the leaf, I'm going to try to reproduce and cut. Oops, I got so much clay in the way. And you know what? It kind of went off a bit. So trim some of the extra and then just fit it in on both sides. And then coax it into place. Okay. Now I'm going to reduce this. First, I'm just gonna trim some of the excess away. So I have a nice, even shape. See how this has kind of lump, 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 lump? Well, if I start pushing those lumps in, it's going to change the shape of the leaf. It's going to change the way the leaf looks. And it's just extra clay that's not necessary. No, I'm not exactly sure what's happening at the tip. Oh, I cut off some of the tip. I think we'll be okay. All right, this area is a little bit odd. You can see some of the green is showing through. There's some space here. You know, this is far from ideal. This is a better side, even though I cut in a couple places, but it's just better. So what I'm going to do is cover this with a sheet and then cut away to make the side smooth. Okay, so I'll be back. So I put a sheet here, rolled through the thickest setting in the pasta machine. Then I took my blade and I trimmed it away because you know what? The same lumps, you cover it with a sheet and you got the same lumps. So you have to trim the lumps away. Okay, so here we go. So now I'm going to reduce this. And in my usual fashion, first I'm going to start by pushing everything down. And you know, I did try to make this much softer because I wanted to make sure that it didn't hang back. Okay, so now I will start pushing, flipping over, pushing. And I find it helpful to every now and then push against my work surface, because hopefully the clay that is in contact with the tile is going to want to stick. And let me pull the clay up. Okay, so let's push the middle down and then push on the sides. Push the center down, push on the sides. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing this, and then I'll be back. All right, so I reduced it, and this is what we have. And I really like it. So here are three, the ends, and then another piece. And there's this, and of course, this is what we started with. So just by taking a simple element like this and cutting and inserting, you can change it. And I have to tell you, in the past, a lot of what I've made tends to look so, not exactly machine made, but, you know, I have a hard time doing something that's more organic looking. And it's something that I've always kind of struggled with. So this is a nice way for me to get there. And I really like this. It's not totally characteristic of what I have done in the past, but I really like them. I like them a lot. And you saw how simple. All right, so now I'm going to prep this guy because we're moving on to this cane. Now, this element is going to be doink, 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 the same thing, all right? So I'm going to reduce it because I'm going to need 4 of them. Okay, so I'm going to start, and I am just going to reduce it just like this. I'm not going to wrap it with anything. I'm just going to start with my fingers. You know, the stem might get a little goofy. As a matter of fact, I'm going to cut some of this stem off. because it just gets in the way and I don't really need it. I just need a little bit of it. Okay, so the reduction is a lot of twisting and a lot of pushing like this along the length and twisting and pulling, and the clay is pretty soft, so this should not be a difficult thing to do. All right, but I'm not going to keep this rolling as I do it because I think you have the idea. Okay, I'll be back. All right, I reduced it out to 9 inches. I'm going to cut 4.5, 2 1/4, 2 1/4, 2 1/4. All right, doink. That's cut through and doink. This is the smallest one, I think, so I'm going to set this aside. Now I'm going to start building by taking the first leaf down like so, then putting the second leaf down like so. In this way, it's sort of like building the feather cane. Dunk, dunk, dunk. And then I'm going to take the third one and build it. Put it down the side. This one's a little long, so you know what? I'm going to push it back in and make it a little larger. It's kind of a reverse reduction, which is fine. Okay, and this goes down like so. Okay, so just these 3. So let me just peel it up and you can see the way this is going, just like so. Now I'm going to take wedges. Da, da, da. Whoop. Let's just cut the wedges. The wedgies. Cutting me some wedgies. Okay. So these are far too, you know, that they need to be more slender, like that. I think this is even a little bit big. I'm going to cut this in half. Okay, now I'm going to open this one up a bit and just slide it. Actually, I'm going to open it up a lot. Really push this baby in there. There, good deal. Now I'm going to take this one. I'm going to do kind of the same thing. I'm going to peel it back. And then push it in. Peel it back, push it in. Both sides. Okay. All right. Now this third piece is going to be up here at the top, but that doesn't get added yet, okay? So the stem has to be inserted from about here all the way down. So let me roll the stem. And I've made the stem quite a bit thinner. It's about a 3 now. But before I do that, oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, excuse me. I am gonna cut this in half. And when it comes together, it's gonna be like that, right? Okay. And this is even small. This cane is even tiny for me. I mean, I don't make big canes, but this is even kind of small for me. I think it'd be okay though. Okay, as I did before, oops, sorry. Just starting to get so much clay everywhere. Oh. A little lower. There it is. Pull this back. Pull it back a bit. Put this guy right there. Okay. Now this is a little large maybe. I could reduce it a bit. Maybe next time. And then this will go just like that. Now I could offset it slightly. I think I will. So it's not completely symmetrical, and I cut this kind of strange. But that's okay. Okay, now I need wedges to fill here. Like that. Okay. Now I'm just gonna cut straight down here and cut straight down here, and I'm gonna take and pull that over that way, and this one will go over this way. These will be split open like that. Makes it just a bit easier to pack the cane. Now maybe if the wedge had been a little larger, the diameter of this had been a little larger, it would have gone all the way to the tip. I'll just have to deal with that. This guy just got... Okay, so that's what we have so far. I will continue packing. cutting away excess like this. I find it helps me. Just as I'm working, if I see any that's excess, I just cut it away because, well, it's what I do. Okay, so I'm going to finish packing and I'll be back. Here is the packed leaf. Now I'm going to reduce it, and you can see on the sides I put a sheet, and I did the same cutting to make the sides as even as I could so that there were no like clay bulges coming out. There is one area I'm a little concerned about. I think it's this side, and I hope that the tip doesn't get blunt. It's looking a little less pointed than some of these others, but we'll see. I'll do my best. Okay, I'm going to reduce it, then I'll be back. Well, I reduced the cane, and this is what it looks like. I think it came out pretty nice. I really like it a lot. And let's just take a look at the original one, see the difference. In the original cane, the individual pieces were elongated. They're much longer. And the way I put them together, they were much closer. There was less negative space between them. But I really like this one a lot. It's kind of an old-fashioned kind of look. So we made 2 leaf canes from this one very simple element. And I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. And if you did, please like it. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And I am going to be doing more live sessions. So I think the way you can be alerted or about them is if you click the bell, and then I think you'll be notified. So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until we meet again, bye. So here are my 2 colors, 1 ounce of white, 1 ounce of violet. Let me tell you, the white was softer than the violet, so I had to add some of this conditioning bar to the violet so that they more closely match in terms of their softness and suppleness. So now let's make a Skinner blend. I'm going to do a traditional, typical 2-part Skinner blend, which starts out with 2 right-angled triangles. I'm not even going to worry about that. Okay, so you can see I've almost got a right angle there. Let's do the same on the other side. Place one on top of the other, and now I will make my 2 cuts that create a 90-degree angle. Okay, so there's the 90 right there. Separate these like so. Take these apart and put them back together. Now, I cut these kind of strangely, but yeah, it's not too bad. Something like that. I didn't exactly cut 90 degrees, but I think it's going to be okay. Because all I have to do is kind of make it 90 degrees. How did I do that so badly? I can make Skinner blends in my sleep. And yet I did. Okay, so I want a square shape. Pretty good. All right, the first time I roll through the pasta machine, 2 colors must physically touch the rollers, this side or that side. I'm still set on the thickest setting of the pasta machine, which is what these sheets were set on. Here you go. Now I stretched it out. Now every time after I have to fold it the same way. The same color edge falls back on the same color edge. In this case, white on white, violet on violet. I'm going to take that fold and I'm going to place it on the rollers and roll through. Ta-da! So I just repeat this for a while. same color, fold on the rollers, roll through. All right, so I will continue folding and rolling in exactly that fashion, and then you'll see what happens. Okay, here's my Skinner blend. Now, it might not be perfect, but for this particular cane, it doesn't have to be, okay? So what I'm going to do is now thin it by placing the white edge on the rollers and rolling through. You want it quite thin. So the first, this is through the thickest setting, which is 0. Now I'm going to roll it through 2. Now 3. I'm going to roll this down to about 6. Okay. 5. Really thin. 5. And now let's roll through 6. Okay, so depending on your clay, the clay you're using, you may find that it's very difficult to do this. You may find that the clay sticks to itself badly and you can't roll it through this thin. If that's the case, if you think that's going to happen, then don't roll it this thin. Okay, not necessary. I just wanted to do it. Okay, because I'd like a fine jelly roll. In other words, I don't want to see the revolutions so prominently. And the thinner the sheet is, the less you see them. Okay, let's roll this up. Okay. There we go. I'm going to cut off the ends so you can see what that looks like. Now, if the sheet had been thicker, of course, you would have seen these lines more prominently because they would be thicker. All right. Now, I'm going to shorten this a bit. Just a bit, because what I have to do is flatten this. Okay, it's round now, but it's going to be flat. And it's just a tiny bit easier to do the rest of the petal if I make this shorter. Okay, so I'm going to flatten. Now let's turn it this way, flatten it this way, and I'm actually going to start pulling it out this way. Okay. All right. Now, let's just flatten this guy on this side. I'm going to pull because I'm going to roll this into a jelly roll. Okay. Well, I think that's long enough. So let's start rolling. Just like this. From one of these thinned sides, just roll it up like so. Okay, so this is what we have so far. All right, peeps, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pinch along this dark side right here. See, that's kind of the darkest part of the petal. And I'm just forcing it kind of into a petal shape, you see. I'm just going to pull it out a little further just by pinching, like so. And then you can straighten that out. As you pinch on this side, you'll find that it starts spreading out, and of course this side is going to bow like that, but you can just correct it by taking and pulling it straight. All right. Now I think I'm going to wrap this with a very thin sheet of black, and I mean thin. So that's the next part. Very, very thin. So let me condition up my black, and I'll be back. All right, peeps, so this is about a quarter of a package, or half an ounce of black clay. I'm going to roll this thin. Okay, so now I know it's long enough this way. I just need, I'm going to roll it through 6. Oh boy, skinny, skinny, skinny. I want that. Okay. And the reason I want it very thin is the way this cane is put together. I will cut this, put the 2 halves together, so whatever this thickness is actually doubled in the finished petal. Make sense? Okay, I'm hoping this isn't too thick, because remember, it's going to be twice that. Okay, I'm going to roll this through 7. 7. Oh yeah, that's a lot thinner. That's better. Okay, now my black clay was a little bit stiffer, so I softened it again with a clay softening bar. You just have to remember that when you're caning, you want to make absolutely sure, or as close as possible, that your clay colors are the same softness. Okay, that's important for the best reduction, so that everything moves at the same rate. And you don't leave some colors behind and remove some others. By the way, the colors you leave behind are the ones that will be most prominent. The ones that move faster are the colors that you'll have less of in the finished cane. That's where your distortion comes in, right? Okay, so there is a very thin wrap. Okay, scrap. Now, if you find little air bubbles, just pierce them. This happens more when you wrap thin, as I just did. You know, to tell you the truth, it probably happens just as often. You just don't see it. But when you're wrapping thin, you tend to see all these air bubbles or any air bubbles that you've created. So maybe I'm fooling myself. They're there, they're just not as obvious. Okay. There we go. Just trying to even it out now because some parts seem to be a little bit thinner than others. I'd like for that not to be the case. Okay. I love clay. The one thing in my life that I've been able to do and never really lost interest in. I have a short attention span. All right, so let's put them together. Now this is one petal. It can be put together this way, could be put together this way. You know, I'm not sure. There's a tremendous difference in the way they look. There's a little more light in the middle of the petal, so let's go with this. See this light area? It's a little more prominent than the other way. So now I'm just going to start pushing, thinning a bit. No, I don't really want to flatten this side. I kind of like the roundness of this. So I'm primarily pushing side to side and trying very hard to maintain the roundness of the petal edge. Is it going to matter? You know, I don't know. Might not, but it doesn't hurt to pay attention to these things. Okay, I made a purple heart. Let me condition more black clay because I want to fill this space here. Okay, primarily this space, because as I reduce, I will start flattening this side if I don't pack some clay between. Okay, so I took my black, what remained, and you know what? I have half a package left. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take this, I rolled it into a cylinder, and cut it in half, like so. All right, now what I have to do now is kind of pull this out, like so, and round it because I would like the petal to fit in here. Okay. That's the goal. Excuse me. I hope I'm not getting sick. I feel more stuffed up than usual. Okay, let's put that down here. And I'm going to take my little brass rod, kind of roll back like that. Okay. Let's do the same on this side. Try to cut some of this away, like so. Pick it up. How are we looking? Now I'm going to take and I'm going to lay this right there between the lobes. Just push it in there. Cut the excess off and then start working the thinned edges down to the cane, like so. Okay. Now, this is not a perfect teardrop, is it? It's kind of, and then it goes, so let's make this a more perfect teardrop. And the way I'm going to do that is by taking this clay and rolling it through the pasta machine and returning it to a sheet shape, like so. And let's just see if I can do it this way. Because that little irregularity in the shape could start squaring everything off. In other words, when you push, the clay has to go somewhere, right? We talk about the clay going somewhere, and we don't necessarily know where it's going to go. So let me cut some of this off. Like so. Okay, that's better. See, fill that in a bit. It is better. Now, let's do the same thing on this side. Let me just first cut the excess away. I can't even see. I couldn't even see what I was doing. But there we go. Okay. Now I'm rolling just to smooth that edge in a bit. Same thing on this side. Okay. Very good. Now this is what we have so far. And this is basically our petal. I will reduce this and I'll have 6. Well, 5 would be nice. I get tired of 6 because it's always an even number and I prefer odd numbers. So maybe I'll aim for 5. Now the center of the cane, I'll tell you something. That's one of the best things about having a box like this, is because frequently you can find the perfect center in the box. Yeah, sometimes it happens. I mean, something as simple as that, this might be a little bit, oh, I kind of like the red and the purple. Here are a couple of just simple bullseyes. Here's a jelly roll that is kind of an ochre color and black. Could be just a plain old solid center. Now, I don't know what the size is going to be, because if I do 5 petals, I think it's a smaller center than if I do 6. Okay, so I'm going to aim for 5. And then we'll deal with the center later. Okay, so it's a lot of pinching and pulling, pinching and pulling, checking the ends. Just take your time. Twist. Twisting is that activation thing. I find that twisting gets the clay moving even faster. Then pressure applied to the perimeter, something about just twisting and pulling. And of course you only do that when the cane is nice and soft throughout. If you try it with an older cane, you're going to have to really work at activating the clay inside. And that activation is usually accomplished by a lot of pressure that you exert from the outside. Kind of aim your energy to the center of the cane. It could take a while to get there, but that's what you do. Okay, so let me do more of the same, and I will reduce this out to about 10 inches. Maybe. Yeah, you know what? That would give me a 2-inch cane, wouldn't it? Yep. Okay, I'll be back. Losing some on the ends. Okay, my peeps, I trimmed the ends. I have 10 inches. Two petals. Now I'm going to cut 2-inch segments because I want 5 petals. Yeah, 5. Petals. Okay, now we're going to put these puppies together. Like so. What kind of core, what kind of center do we want? And how big should that center be? Da, 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 ba, da, da. Okay, so if I just get them together like that. That's the center size. What am I going to do? Could be as simple as this guy, just reduced down. I like it. Here's a little kind of orangey one, too small. But hey, that might be a nice one there. Like that. It's just a very simple bullseye. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going, because this is one of my favorite little teeny tiny canes. Now, the thing is, I'm plopping this cane, which is old, right in the middle of this fresh flower, right? Yeah. So I want to make sure that this little guy is not going to hang back on me. Maybe I should have started out with a bigger one. I think I'm going to do that, because by going through just the action of reducing this, I will soften it too, right? Because that's the thing, you know, you plop an old cane in the middle of a fresh cane, and that old cane, chances are, if you're not really careful, if you don't really pay attention, this little guy would hang back and just refuse to move. So by reducing it a bit first, I'm helping ensure that it doesn't hang back too terribly badly, if that makes sense. Because I'm applying pressure to the outside, making it more noodly, like that. And helping it along. Doesn't have that cold, hard feel to it. And this is nothing more than a simple bullseye cane. Just a lime green core with black, with turquoise, with black. That's all. Simple stuff. Just plop this baby in the middle. You seem a little small. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Come on. I want to get rid of that excess. Like so. Let's get you back in. And arrange everybody, since everybody went kind of wonky. Wonkety. You don't have to go wonky. Turn you over, plop you back in. Okay, so let's press these guys right up against the center. This side is actually better than the other side. You guys can see I've got these two canes, which are a little bit darker, but you also know there's going to be waste. Hopefully not too terribly much waste, but there is going to be waste. Now, the thing about doing the 5s is that you have more space to fill up in there, right? Yeah, do. Now, at that point, you can fill with a leaf. Maybe a couple of these will have leaves. I know I have leaves around here somewhere. But see, this leaf, I love this leaf, but it's so tiny. If I put that in there, it's going to look like, you know, a smear. It's not really going to look like a leaf at all. So I need something that's more simple. Let me grab something. I'm getting plugged up. Okay, here we go. All right. So this is a case where simple is not bad, because simple, you'll see. You see, just like that. So let's use some of these very kind of simpler canes. Once again, I think I'll go ahead and do a little bit of reduction from the big guy. And that way I'll also be kind of conditioning it. Now, I have several others that are like blends like that. That's a blend. This is also a blend, but look, there's too little of it. This I have tons of. So let me just rejuvenate this. It's a lot of twisting just to get it moving again, because this is quite an old cane. It's just a really basic nothing cane, to tell you the truth. I think I started out with a green cylinder just around like this. I'll take this, even though this is a blend, but it was one of these numbers where you take just a cylinder of green and then you cut it in half. Then you insert black in between, mush them together, and then shape it. Okay, so that's simple stuff. Nothing difficult. Seriously, nothing difficult. I hope I'm not getting sick. Okay. So this is getting activated pretty quickly, pretty fast. Yeah, very much so. Okay. Okie dokie. So let's just insert one there. Cute, cute, cute. Now, do I want it that big? See, the bigger if the leaf extends that far, then I have to pack all of that around. Do I want to do that? Do I want this big field of black clay? You know what? I don't. I do not. This can just be a little tiny little hint of a leaf down there. So let me just reduce this so that it's a lot smaller and it doesn't extend so far beyond the flower petal. I mean, maybe for another class, I'd want to build up, you know, something around the outside. But my goal here was just to make something that's kind of simple and doable. Not too demanding. So that you guys don't feel like this is too challenging or takes too much clay or takes, you know, because that's another thing. The bigger I work, the more clay it takes for you to do the same thing. And I don't necessarily want you guys to have to be consuming mass quantities of clay. All right, so that's much better. I think that is much better. And I'm only going to do it in 2 so that it's not like really regular, like dum, 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 dum. I just want 2. And I packed my cane with black, but of course you guys, you know, if you, absolutely, you might decide you want to pack in a different color. Whatever you do, if you're a beginning caner, try to pack in a color that you don't have to mix initially, because you could get into a situation where you have to mix more and more clay, and the colors you mix are different. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but a lot of times it does. So if you're just starting with caning, then please make sure that you have enough of a color, and that if you run out of a color, then you will be able to reproduce that same color. Take it from me. I remember. It's been a long time, but I remember. I remember being very unhappy because I didn't have exactly the right color. Okay. All right. So this is looking good to me. I have to pack all of these spaces. What I'm going to do is pack them much like I packed this. Now, I could perhaps cut some of this away, but let's just proceed, okay? So I'm going to condition the rest of my black clay. This is not going to be enough, I fear. So I will get another block of black. You know, of course, we have a product. I have a product called Blackout. You can take your scrap clay and turn it black. Here it is, Blackout. You just take some of this, you mix it in your scrap clay, and it will turn your scrap clay black. How much? I can't tell you. It depends on what you start with. Okay, so let me condition this, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I decided just to condition and roll the clay I have into a cylinder. You know, you guys know how to, I'm assuming you know how to do this. You just roll a sheet, and then you roll it up like that. All right. But I'm going to do this before I condition more clay, because maybe I don't need more clay. Okay, so clearly this is not the best angle. It's not too bad, but I'm going to need 2 pieces or 4 pieces that are quite a bit thinner to go side to side with these petals, right? Like so. This kind of thing is what happens here. So let's insert those and cut the excess away. I'm just going to squeeze like so and push it in. Then cut some of the excess away like so. Okay. And then try to work this down. Okay, so that's the way I'm going to pack around the leaves. So I'll be back. Okay, so I packed here, and you know what? What big wedges? I cut them in half, and they fit. I can't speak. And they fit perfectly in the remaining spaces, so I stuck them in there. Yep. Okay. Like that. Just push it in. Just push, 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 push. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to push these guys in too, but I think what I'm going to do to these guys is split here, straight down the middle. See, I just cut all the way down the middle and take these and swing them around like so. I think it's easier to pack this way if I just take and swing them around like that. If need be, I can fill that space. Like so. Turn it around. How are we looking on this side? Come on, get down. Pull them over. Repeat the same sort of taking the clay and just kind of pushing it up over the petal like so. So you see what I've got here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start trimming some of this away to see how much more, I have to pack. This is not difficult. I'm just cutting black clay away. I'm not too afraid that I'm going to hit the flower at this point. Just lopping it away because, of course, there's all this extra clay above the petal. Okay, here we go. Now, this leaf sticks out just a bit farther. So, can I push it in to make it more round? Okay, so I have spaces like that. Now, do I want that much black around? Because that will kind of dictate what I do here. Nothing says that this flower has to be dead center in the circle. It doesn't. I can make it a circle where it's just, it cuts a little bit more here and it's a little bit broader at the top. That I could do. But I think, for my purposes now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill those little spaces. How do I do that? I'm going to take this, roll it into a sheet, and make another cylinder that I will cut in the same fashion. Divide, then divide. Kind of cut what I need. Okay, so here we go. All right. Oink, oink, oink. Like so. Now, let me try to get this point jammed down in there. Stand it up and trim the excess away. Let's really jam it in there. So that's basically how I fill these spaces. This guy will go into the next one. See, I've got this space, so I'll just take and push this in all the way down the length, really push it in. And trim away the excess. So I have filled it in. I find it easier than rolling a cylinder and then pinching, pinch, pinch, pinch. It's just easier for me to roll cylinders, cut, 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 and sort of cut what I need. I think that makes sense, right? So I have one more here that needs to be filled. So here we go. One last time. I find this just so much faster. And while it's not a race, of course, there are just certain tasks that you don't want to take any longer than they should, right? I mean, it's just a simple act of packing a space. Shouldn't be something that takes so much of your time. All right, so now I'm going to take my blade and I'm just going to go around and try to start cutting away somewhere I think there is an excessive amount of clay. Also, there are spots where I think I can probably smooth over so that spaces are filled like that. Let's see. The leaves made it just a little bit more complicated, but not too bad. All right, so now I'm going to take the rest of this black, roll it into a sheet, and I am going to wrap it. Okay, so I'll roll this through probably the thickest setting, maybe the thickest setting or setting number 1, and I'll be back. All right, so this has been rolled through the thickest setting of the pasta machine. Just gonna trim here and here. I'm still working off the same block of clay, which is kind of amazing to me. It is. It's kind of amazing to me. Just worked out that way today. As a matter of fact, I have leftover. Okay. Now, here is where I'm just trying to push all of this clay in this sheet into all these spaces. Okay, any spaces, because it was quite irregular, wasn't it? It was. That is not perfectly round. So now the goal here is to cut anything that's like sticking out or making it not round. Okay, actually what may make my life a tiny bit easier is the use of a cutter to tell me what round is. Well, I don't have the right size. This is too small. That's kind of too small. Now, too small, so I just have to keep going and doing this the way I started out. Sometimes having something like a round cutter and you just press it onto the clay, and it's just kind of a guide to tell you how much and where you have to cut excess clay away. It's kind of hard because I'm not really looking at it. This is sticking out. It is. Well, that's not too bad. Now, is there too much black around the flower? Just going to keep cutting. I like the cutting part. I do. You guys know that. I like taking my blade and whacking stuff away. I do. Subtractive. I'm subtracting clay. Then I have to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. It's a good thing I like doing it. Now, I don't think anything can really go wrong at this point. The flower is so far into that black clay, I'm not going to cut into it. So I'm not worried about that. Okay, how are we looking? How are we looking? Not too bad. Not perfect, but not too bad. But look at this side. Wow. Now, maybe I should just push right there, and that's kind of a guide. You know, like don't cut at the line, just cut a little bit inside of the line. There's the original line. And I just kind of go around and try to cut the same distance from that little line. Like so. Okay. Yeah, you know what? That works better. At least you have some reference. If you just take this and then try to cut the same distance away from that original line. Right? Right. Helps. Now I'm just trying to make the sides nice and even. Oh, I think I cut too much away. Did I cut? Oh, I cut a little too much away. Let me put some of this back. Yeah, because you don't want to cut too much away. You don't want to leave too much. You also don't want to remove too much. All right, so let's just smooth this out. Take a look and see what we've got. I'm just going to cut at this end, which I think is not the best end. This is the end with the darkened petals. So there's the flower. Not bad. Not bad at all. Now, this is the better side, though. It is. So we have a nice little violet 5-petaled flower. like so. Now, when I make these, sometimes I put stripes around the outside. Where'd my cane go? Oh, right before my face. See, little stripes like that. And of course, they come from striped slabs like this. And then you cut and you put it around like that. But we were not going to do that in this class. So let's reduce this a bit further. Yeah, it's kind of a cute little cane. Wanted to make a cane that wasn't 6-petaled. Most of the canes, most of the flower canes I see are 6-petaled. And as a matter of fact, this is 6 petals. And most of the flowers I make, I would have to say, have 6 petals. Nothing wrong with that, but they don't always have to be the same. Okay, so let's make sure that the center is moving. Everything's moving pretty evenly. I'm pretty pleased with this. The black packing clay, generally speaking, or the packing clay, in other words, all this clay around, generally that moves faster. Unless it's very hard. But this clay is not hard, so it's moving. So let's just pinch down the end like so. It's almost like plugging it. And I think I'm going to leave this side thick. So I have some cane that is in its original size, and then reduce some off of one end. All right, let's lop off some. And look at what we have. Oh, it's a cute little flower. Yeah. Aw. So there we go. These are my cute little earrings. I think that I will put stripes around before I do that. But they're kind of cute. Yeah, I'm not unhappy. Oh, I even like that. Scrappage. Not too much. Look at all the earrings. Woohoo! Okay, guys, this is the second time I'm doing this. You know why? Because I did it rather stupidly the first time. So I decided I have to do the whole thing again. Well, okay, not the whole thing, but this part again. My Kleenex is popping out of my sleeve. Okay, so let us begin with the core. The core. Now this is, you think this is a black core? It's black. But you know what? It is primarily translucent clay. Yep, yep, yep. Translucent. I took black out and I put it in and I made my own black clay. Now, this black clay looks opaque, but you know what? It's not. It's primarily translucent. But for my purposes here, all I want is something that looks black so that when you look and see the back, black, it doesn't look like scrap clay. That's all. So that's just another way of making black if you don't have black and you're going to do something like this. Okay, so let us, this is a cylinder, cylinder, and it measures about a little less than 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Let's just cut this. I think this would be a nice length. Yeah, I do. And it happens to be 1 1/16 of an inch. Now this one piece is going to become 2 pairs of earrings. Okay, so first I have to form a long taper like that. And I'm just going to follow the same basic strategy that I do when I'm trying to cover up scrap in the middle. And that is just kind of push the outside in. In this case, I don't actually have to pull the outside over the scrap clay because there is no outside and there is no scrap clay. It's just all the same color. So it makes it a little bit easier. Now you could use scrap clay, wrap it in black, do this, but then you've got to cover the back, right? Sometimes it's just easier to do something like this and not have to worry about the back. Because by doing, or by using, this black clay instead of the scrap clay, well, there's no need. There is just no need. Okay, so this is actually smaller than the other ones I've been making, which is okay. These will really be kind of Huggy earrings. You know Huggies. Huggies are, they're small. They're not gigunda hoops. They're small. And so they do require less clay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. I'm going to reset my camera like that. Maybe I shouldn't do that because I could have repositioned the whole thing. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Okay, peeps. Now, you know, the goal is to have a center and then to have the taper identical going left and going right. It's the goal. Does it happen? Well, maybe sometimes, but most assuredly not all the time. Yep. Okie dokie. Not too bad. Not too bad. And as I often say with earrings, you know, you've got your whole face in between the earrings. So if they're not identical, I doubt people are going to even notice. They hardly notice if you've lost an earring. Okay. Ta-da! All right, now I'm going to cut this in half. You find the center. I do this different ways, but I'm going to try to find the center and then take the blade and feed it to this tip here, and then like a paper cutter, cut to the other point. Not too bad. Not too bad. Okay, so this one piece becomes one pair of earrings, and this piece becomes pair number 2. All right, now I need a tile. I'll be back. Okay, peeps. This is a reasonably clean tile. Let us put that right there on the tile. I'm going to push it so it really sticks to the tile. Now, this is optional, and I'll show you what I mean by optional, because there is no rule that says you have to make this gold. This pair of earrings is on black. This pair is also on black, you see? So I just took the leaves and little flowers and I put them right on the black background. So totally up to you. Gold, black. You could do silver, copper, whatever you want, but this is optional. Okay. Oh, all right, to make it gold, I'm gonna take my iridescent rich gold paint, acrylic paint from Liquitex. I really like this. Now, this is an old tube, very, very old. And I think now they call it heavy bodied, because see the thickness of this paint? It's beautiful. It's very thick. Okay, so I'm just going to start applying this beautiful gold paint to the clay all the way up and down. You know what? I'm going to have to apply 3 coats. You know how I know? Because I made like 6 pairs of earrings. So I'm going to have to do that at least 2 more times. What happens is you apply the paint just like that, dab, dab, dab with your fingers, and you let it dry. You apply 2nd coat, let it dry. 3rd coat, let it dry. And the thing is, if you don't let it dry enough, you take wet paint, you put it on, and you pull all the paint off. So be patient, let it dry. I'll be back after I finish my 3rd coat. All right, so here are 3 coats of gold paint, but my chonky fingers can't get down there, can they? No, and that doesn't look very good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take it off the tile, and now I'm gonna paint this edge so we don't have that black right there. So it'll take about 3 coats again just to cover it up, but it's worth it, I feel. Okay. So let me get that done. Got to cover all that black. Like so. There's 1 coat. Flip it over. Do the other side like so. Like that. Let it dry, and then apply 2 more coats. Okay. So let me get that done, and then I'll be back. We'll be ready to add our canes. Oh, right, my peeps. So I did it. Yeah, it's still a teeny tiny bit wet. Like a few spots, but not bad at all. Okay, so let's take a look. Now I'm going to cut it in half. Now, yesterday, don't ask me why, but I didn't do this. I decided that I was just going to work from the center and work out and make it this is easier, I think. So this is almost 3 inches, so I am going to find 1.5 inches right there, and I am cutting it like that. Now, whenever you're making earrings, you know, I don't have a lot of rules, but I will say I believe this to be a rule. And what this rule is, is that when you make earrings, if it is appropriate, and if you can do it, make them mirror image. Make a mirror image. It just tells people that you care about what you're doing. That's all. Don't make them both going this way or this way. Make them mirror image. So you have a definite right and left. All right. So that looks pretty good. This one might be just a tiny bit longer. Like so. Now, onto this, we are going to create our little floral scene. Yes, so we're going to be using the leaves. The instructions for this are in the video. There's one leaf, and here is, let me find, they get so small, they kind of look the same when they get really, really teeny, teeny, tiny. Maybe I don't have a tiny one like this. Somewhere in this studio, there most definitely is. But I may just stick with the one leaf rather than reducing this down. Although I should probably show you what that looks like. Okay, let me scoot this aside because we're going to deal with our components, our chosen components. Leaf first. Okay, so how do we reduce something like this? Not round, it's not square, it's not triangular. You know, it's not the easiest shape to reduce, but gosh, it's not impossible. No. So basically, I will start by trying to reduce in the shape. In other words, pinching the ends like this, because basically I've got this pointed poddy shape, right? So you start with that. And this cane's been around a little while. I think that I did this cane a year ago. So it's been a while, around for a while. So it may take a little while to get it going. I do a lot of this twist it like that. And I find that that really kind of activates the clay and makes it more stretchy, faster. Okay, so I don't want to reduce the whole thing because I can always reduce it later. So it's better to store something short and large than something long and skinny. So you're just gonna kind of pinch in like this and then push the sides. Pinch, push, pinch, push. And responding to the pressure, it gets smaller. Yeah. Okay, so it takes a little bit. I would say round is easier, just go like that. All right. So I would keep doing that for pinch, push, pinch, push, pinch, push, twist, 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 pull gently. Okay, so I'm not going to do any more. But as you can see, I mean, these started out about that size, right? So I have two sizes here, this size and this size. So to make it really tiny, you just do the same thing, but smaller, like that. Pinch, smaller, like so. Okay, you want them small. The earrings aren't that big. All right, so let's talk about the flowers. Now, in this class, I included this flower. You remember this flower? This flower is from another class. It's an easy 5-petaled flower, posy. But I want to show you something about this flower. Let me cut this one. Cut it down a bit. There we go. You see, the difference in these two canes is not only the color and the amount of petals and the flower itself, but it's the amount of black. See how much more black there is around this guy? Well, it had to be built that way, I felt, because I added those two leaves, so it kind of pulled the size of the whole flower and leaves out, made it bigger. So I needed more black to cover it up. Now, for a project like this, this is actually better, having less black around, I feel. This has more black around, but I want to use the purple flower. So what am I going to do? I think I'm just going to take a piece off the end. I'm going to stand it up, and I am going to try to cut some of this black away. And I'm going to do it kind of carefully, like so. But by doing this, I won't have to take every single little piece and remove the excess black. Okay, try to retain the roundness of it because I do have to reduce it. A bit. And I'll show you something. Let me show you. Okay, so I did these and I didn't cut the excess black away. See how much black is around those flowers? It's not horrible, it's just not ideal. I made a second pair. Let me find it. Oh, maybe I'm wearing them. I'm wearing them. I popped them in my ears. Yeah, here we go. And I decided that I would just use partial pieces like that. It's one solution for less black, but it didn't give me a complete flower. Now, that doesn't bother me. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't bother me that this particular pair of earrings feature partial slices, not whole ones. Doesn't at all. As a matter of fact, I like this better than I like this, just because the whole flower has so much black. Okay, so let me finish this. And then I'm going to reduce this, make it tiny. See, gonna have to push this in a bit. And the flowers may become a bit misshapen, but I'll be honest, it doesn't much matter to me because when they kind of flatten out, I actually like it better than when they're perfectly round. Could be just me, I don't know. So I'm going to turn it over and start removing some of that excess black. Okay. Now I've made some flowers and I have packed them in translucent, and that's another way to go. And you might think that that would make it more usable in more instances, and maybe that's true. Just the way I tend to work, I do more on black. And so by packing black around, it almost disappears, you know. And for me, sometimes packing in translucent, the translucent might get a little bit yellow. And so for my work, for what I do, for generally the way I work, packing in black works better. Now, it might be a different situation for you. So I would say try both and see. Cut a little bit into the leaf, that's fine. All right, so I think that's good. Look at the amount of black I just got rid of. Quite a bit. Yeah, good job. All right, look at all this black. Okay, so let me reduce this. And once this is reduced, we're ready to start. Okay, good deal. Here we go. Now this cane isn't nearly as old as the leaf, and it's moving pretty well. I mean, I got, of course, loss, cane loss. It happens. I will live with it. Okay, let me reduce it down to this size so you can see the difference before and after removing the excess black. Okay. Let me just cut it in the middle. And let's just cut an end off. So you can see the canes are, this one is still a tiny bit smaller. I can make it smaller, but you can see that there is a lot less black around. It has to be that way. The flower's a little bit bigger. Okay. All right. So now we're ready to start. So let me kind of organize myself here and I'll be back. All right, my peeps. So the first thing we're going to do is lay down some leaves. Oh my goodness. Now I have basically three sizes, big, small, and smaller. Okay. Now I don't know that I'm going to use any of these great big guys, maybe at the top, but I'm going to start at the, I don't know, should I use, let's look. Sometimes you just have to look. You think you know what's happening, and then it's like, oh, that was unexpected. Oh, I rather like that big guy. Okay, so let's use the big guy. Now, what you're going to find is that the clay doesn't want to stick to the paint as much as it wants to stick to clay. In other words, if I were working on the black, just black clay like this guy, these slices would be like, yeah, and they stick so easily. And they don't stick quite so easily to paint. So when you do this, you're going to use a pretty light touch. Now, after they're cured, they stick beautifully. But initially, they're just like, nah, you know, I don't think I want to do that. Don't know what to say about that. Oh, yes. So remember, mirror images. So best you can, try to find the opposite spot on the other ear. See, it wants to stick to me. So I may have to go wash my hands and make my hand that probably has clay on it. See, I got clayey hands. So this is a bit of a challenge, but everything shouldn't be so simple, right? Shouldn't be so easy. Where's the challenge in that if things are too easy to do? Maybe we don't want them to be too difficult, but by the same token, it's those challenges that actually make us better. Stick, please. Thank you. Thanks. All right. Not too bad. Excuse me. You know, I thought I would attack my sinus problem. I actually made something. It was lavender oil, and, you know, my friend Sylvie is very much into these essential oils and stuff. And I thought, well, maybe that'll help. And somewhere in my studio now, there is a little pot of coconut oil with lavender and eucalyptus and stuff like that I meant to be sniffing on. Now I have to find it. Actually, I have to make another one. Because it's almost springtime and I'm going to be suffering. Oh, I kind of like that. All right, so my peeps, I have to keep going, don't I? Okay, let's use this guy. This guy. I just need 2. Always 2. Come on. Maybe right there. Put a little flower there. Now, if you want a stem, you can use like a Starry Night. I was using those, but I thought, it's not really necessary for this particular class. All right, so let's move to La Fleur. La Fleur. And I will use whole flowers because I eliminated so much of the black. There's a whole flower. There's another one. Let's see if we can give this a go. Let's just plop that one right there. Kind of glad I did this over. I was just yesterday kind of letting the clay fly. It was flying. And I hadn't really thought about it. I'm like, why did I make it that way? It made no sense to me. Now, I need to reduce this down. Or, let's see, this is a situation where I could probably just use a half. So let's cut 1 flower from here. And let's just cut it in half. And see how this goes. As if that flower is peeking out from behind that leaf. Oh, this has a very Asian look. Makes sense. I'm Asian. Okay. So you can do things like that too. Let's say we even put just a quarter. Or maybe like so. Oops. Oopsie. Do I want to go in there? And there, and there, and there. I can't decide. How about right there? So I think you guys get the picture, right? You get the pic. It's fun to do. And it makes a lot more sense than the way I did it yesterday. Oh yeah, it was kind of a mess. Kinda. Now let's take another little teeny leaf. Is this the teeny one? Is this a teeny one? Okay, so here's the danger of working with these. Is that you think they're just scrap clay and you grab them and you put them in your scrap pile. Yeah, you have no idea how many signature canes I have had end up in the trash. Because I think, that's just, a little piece of black clay. No. Help me. We were doing so well. All right, peeps. So now we have little floral earrings. Now, this part tends to be, it curves around to the back. You can certainly put things there, but you probably don't even really need them. So I'm not going to put anything there. This will be curved underneath and into the back. Now we have to turn them into hoops. Okay, my peeps, I am back. Got to get these up. Oh, there you come up. Oh, I left a little clay behind there. All right. Now, of course, to make Huggy earrings, you have to have some kind of curved form. This is a brass tube. I have several of them. I got them in a hobby store, I think. And you'll find tubes like this in the hobby railroad section usually. And there are long pieces of this stuff that are cut to length. So people will come in and say, I want 3 inches of blah, blah, blah. And then they cut them. They usually have leftovers. I believe this was a leftover. So I bought it. Okay. Now you're going to want to make sure that all see, I could put a little leaf on this side. Picking it up, I now see that perhaps there are empty spaces that should have something in them, like right there. Okay. I'm sorry if I just went off. I just went off camera again. It's like terrible. Okay, I'm going to scoot forward. Okay, now let's just gently start the curve like that. And see, the chunky part doesn't want to curve as easily as the skinny part. The chunky part, which is the top, is like, nah, I don't think so. Resistant. The chunk. All right, so here's where you want to make any adjustments, so that you want that tip pointing at the center of this end. Okay, so you're just gonna push it down. You don't want any spaces, huge spaces between the clay and the tube. May take a little bit to get that end to stick, like so. Now, is that straight, or are we going around at an angle? Sometimes it happens. So you're going to want to look at it this way too and make sure it's not curving. And that actually looks pretty darn good. Okay, so there's one. The second guy. Try to wrap it straight around. Oh, I forgot. Yes, I did. I forgot. Let's do the pre-curve. Just a pre-curve. Helps a bit. Try to go around straight. Like so. And then push down. Okay. So naturally, the larger the diameter of the tube you're wrapping around, the looser the coil will be. These are going to be little Huggy guys, so they're actually quite short. All right, so this is going in the oven now. Now, the last thing, I mean, you might want to throw some crystals in, which is what I did with, for instance, this guy. See the little crystals there? Crystals are always, I mean, these are so femmy. You know, they're way femmier than a lot of the stuff I make. I have nothing against femmy. I like it. I like it. I'm telling you, my mother would have really liked these. Okay, so let's put some crystals in. Why not? Because why not? All right. So what you're going to do is decide where you want them. Now, I could put crystals in the centers of the flowers. They could be just spotted, you know, elsewhere. So let's just put one there, using a ball stylus. I'm going to use the same ball stylus to gather up a bit of liquid and drop it in the hole. Just a bit of liquid goes down in there. The liquid will cure clear. So it's really just going to help hold the crystal in. Okay, so this is my picking pencil. Okay, there's one. If you're using little teeny crystals like this, you're going to want like one of these little pencils. It makes your life so much easier. And then you're going to push it in some. No, maybe I'll put another one down here. Now let's just give it a go. Shouldn't just have one, right? And then I will pop this in the oven. And I'll be back. When I use these pencils, generally I will pick up with one end, like this end, plop it in the hole. Come on, get off. And then turn it around and push it in with this side. Okay, so in the oven we go, then I'll be back. Well, my peeps, they're out of the oven. I found my coconut and eucalyptus oil. I have put it on the back of my hands and under my nose. And when I get plugged up, I'm just gonna go and sniff my hand. Yeah. Okay, so now we're all set. We have to finish these. So let us look quickly at this flat area and decide, do we have to sand that? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Today, no. It is very smooth and looks good to me. And I'm gonna cover it up. So let's grab some of these guys. I need 2 of them. 1 per earring. Then I need glue. Hello. Okay, so let's put a dollop of glue right there. Kind of in the middle. Right there. Middle. Okay. Put it where you want it, and then take your fingernails or something and push it down so that the finding is glued to the earring, not to the glue. It happens. You think it doesn't happen. It happens. You think you're gluing your finding to the glue, and you glue it, to the piece, and you end up gluing to the glue, which means you haven't glued a thing. How do I know? You know how I know. All right. Now we have to cover that up. I have taken a nice round cutter that is big enough, like that, and I've rolled my clay through setting number 4. Could have been actually thinner than this, but we'll leave it at 4, like so. Now let's cut and cut. I'm not cutting exactly in the middle. I'm leaving a little more on one side. And that is the side I'm using. A little bit of liquid clay applied like so. Let's take a needle tool and pierce a hole where we think that the post will come out, like so. Yeah. It's a little bit thicker than I have been making them, but it's fine. Okay, so just make sure you've got it on so that this raw clay is covering the back. Now somewhere in here, look, this is way too big. All I need is a little piece like that. Something like this. Slide it on And I'm pushing the sponge into the clay, like so. Try to keep my hands in frame. You know, I have these blue strips of tape that are supposed to help me do that. And it's questionable whether they really work, because I keep going off. Don't know what to tell you. Now trim. Basically, just trim the excess away best you can. Not bad. Now, let me do the same thing to this side. These go back in the oven, and then I'll be back. All right, here they are. Look, they're cured. They're really cute. I like them. I'm so glad I cut that black away. I'm glad I did it again. Yeah. All right, so let's put them on our cards. Now, I've had people ask about these cards. They're not cards. They're stickers. Okay, I used to attach my jewelry to business cards, and in a way, it's probably a better thing to do because it has my name on it, this and that. But to me, it was just wasteful. So I love the imagery. Lots and lots and lots of stickers in this world, and it's so easy to find something you like. So cute. And so I decided that I would use stickers because, hey, maybe somebody who gets these earrings will have a kid who wants to put stickers all over the house or something. I don't know. To me, it's more fun and potentially fun for somebody else. So now I just put all my jewelry on stickers. Yeah. Now, where do I get them? And, you know, this is I'm not getting paid for this or anything. Just an FYI, I do buy them from Temu. Yeah. And if you want to buy them from Temu, just in the search field, just put stickers. And you will be amazed at what comes up. Okay. So here they are. They're adorable. They're cute. Maybe I'm not supposed to say that about my own jewelry, but I like them. I like them. Yeah. Okay, my peeps, we are at the end of class. These are the earrings we made. These are the same basic canes, but with more black around the flowers, so you know how to eliminate that excess black now. Same basic earring, only with little yellow daisies. Here are 2 pair, and these guys don't have flowers at all. They're just branches and leaves, and the branches are Starry Night canes. Yeah. Here are 2 pair with just various canes, the leaves, and the yellow daisy on black instead of gold, so that's an option for you. Yeah, I really like these. I think they're adorable. They're fun. And they were not difficult to make either, were they? So I hope you make lots. Now, if you like the class, I hope you'll like it, and I hope you'll subscribe. And I guess that's it for us today. So I'm Donna Kato, and I'm signing off. Bye.